Hey guys, it's me, it's your boy. I'm Jake. I'm the Mad Italian, and I got some other Fallout friends with me. Say hi, everybody.
How's it going?
And so we're all in the Discord chat. We all finished the Fallout series. It just came out. I want to say like what 3 days ago, give or take. Yeah.
Roughly.
And it
Uh,
has. It definitely a lot of opinions have been sweeping quite a bit online, so I just wanted to make this little discussion and talk about it, give our perspective, talk about what we thought, talk about what's how everyone's feeling about the show as a whole, with especially with this series that a lot of people take very seriously, sometimes a little too seriously. But yeah, let's well right off the bat, let's I'll go ahead and ask you guys right now. Did you guys enjoy it?
I did, yeah. I think it's a really good show, and it's definitely one of the better video game adaptations we've gotten.
Yeah, I would agree. It was my lasting impressions was like, yeah, I really enjoyed this. Now, I do have problems, and we're probably gonna go through the problems, but I think starting off, I do want to talk about the characters. So, and because I think the characters themselves are definitely like the biggest part. So the main characters in the show, we got Lucy, who's the Vault Dweller. We got Maximus, who is the brother of Steel Scribe, and then we have the Ghoul or Cooper, as he's later revealed as. And we'll starting off with Lucy. Is that I think Lucy, honestly, like she has like the most straightforward, but also probably like probably like a really good progression throughout the show. It's very so. I'll be honest. I was a little. When I saw the first episode and like the raiders were like attacking, I was like, okay, maybe they'll kill her dad here, so maybe they won't completely retread Fallout 3. And then I see them take him away. I'm like, oh god damn it! What's next? Is the water chip gonna be broken? A few episodes later, the fucking water chip gets broken.
I mean, I'm just glad that she didn't go back to her vault and find everyone and disappeared, and everyone in the vault is replaced by talking death claws.
just pull out all the numbers, right?
And then she gets shot in the head. Wait! Oh my god! We even had people cryogenically frozen.
We did. Yeah, that's another thing is that we had like they ticked every single fucking box of the games too. The only thing that we need is we need a caveman that's searching for the Gek.
That's all we need is the Gek in this, and we literally have the starting experience for every single character in the franchise.
Which I don't think is necessarily like a bad thing, because one thing I like about all three of the characters is that I don't know if this was intentional, but the way I see it is that it's kind of like it's like a unique way to show different progression throughout a Fallout playthrough, right? Like, so we got Lucy, who's like level 1, straight out of the vault, has no idea what the fuck's going on, and is like, wow, this world is fucking crazy. You have Maximus, who is like a level 10. You know, he signed up with the first faction he found, and he's kind of been like part of this group for now, but he still has a lot to learn. And then you have the max level Ghoul, who is just, he's got the best gear, and he's just wrecking everybody by himself, and he's traveling with a dog, because dog meat's always the best companion.
Actually didn't catch it when I initially watched it until I saw a clip again later that he actually does call the dog meat.
Yeah, yeah, he does, and they can't let that go, can they?
To be honest, come on. Fallout 1, 2, and the first two games had dog meat, so you can't. That's not even a Bethesda-ism of naming the dog meat. That was something that Interplay did.
It did, yeah, and that's. I mean, that's something that a lot of people people are always like, oh, Bethesda, like they like fucked up the humor of the they like rely too much on this humor. I'm like, dude, fucking Interplay did that. Black Isle, well, not Interplay, but more like Black Isle Studios, which I guess was the same company, but Black Isle Studios did that with Fallout too.
Interplay is the publisher. I should have said Black Isle. Publisher versus Black Isle was the game producer.
Okay,
it's kind of a developer. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's like how Obsidian made Fallout New Vegas, but it was published by Bethesda. Mm-hmm. You're right to say that the game is made by is a Bethesda game because it was published by them. but you can't say that they were the developer.
Yeah, like the developer and producer are two different things. Yeah. But I think the only real because this was by the same people who made The Boys, right?
As in like the production crew?
Yeah.
Not my. Wasn't.
No, I think it was.
I gotta look that up. I'm looking it up right now.
I'm pretty sure this was like the same, at least in terms of special effects, and I think like the writing team as well. I think it was the same people who made The Boys.
I know that Jonathan Nolan was the showrunner and lead writer, and he came off of Westworld. And of course, he is Christopher Nolan's brother, and he co-wrote most of Christopher Nolan's movies. Rather notably, he did not co-write Tenet or Interstellar, which I think are considered to be his two weaker movies out of his run. So, like, for God's sake, Jonathan Nolan wrote Dark Knight Rises. Dark Knight Rises. He wrote Dark Knight. Which that movie's amazing. So I had high hopes going in for this. And he is not the showrunner in season 2. He is leaving after season 1. He only wanted to do the one season. So,
which, I mean, we can get to that once we get to the conclusion. But so the main thing that I know is, so I'll be honest. Have you guys watched The Boys at all?
I have not. I've yet to watch it.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Okay.
Seen clips.
So I've only watched season 1. I'm not a big fan of it, mainly just because I don't really like the over the top like satire of it. Just because it gets a little too on the nose. But one thing I do think they were a good choice for it, just because like the over the top violence and like the head explodes and like all the goriness that fits so much with Fallout, right? Like you go into vats, you target the head explodes. That's like peak Fallout shit.
I don't think any of us are saying there's a problem with the special effects or anything.
Yeah, but like I do think that some of the humor didn't really land, because it's a little bit too much of like that haha quirky, like saying odd weird things in public kind of humor, which
or the scene when they go ahead and they reach the what is it, Vault 4 or something like that, when they're in the quarantine room and she's like, so you want to fuck or you want to have sex? Like, you want to have intercourse? Like, it's like, come on.
And like that's already weird enough, but then we have to have Maximus talk about how he doesn't understand how boners work, and it's like, okay, please just end the fucking scene, dude. This is already uncomfortable. So,
in their defense, you got to think of it like this. He was how old when they picked him up, and he was put into the conscript lifestyle since the beginning? I mean, shit. To be fair, half the people in there probably don't. Well, I mean,
here's the
actually,
thing.
I take that back.
I would agree with you,
because there's that one scene.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right?
I literally just thought of it too. I was like, oh god damn it.
Yeah,
I forgot about
when they first meet him. there's someone jacking off right, literally 5 feet away from the camera.
And
which,
like that.
To be fair, just because somebody knows how to jack off doesn't mean they know about, doing the deed.
I don't know, man. I think in like a military barracks, even after the wasteland, people are gonna like find magazines and shit. People are gonna find shit to jerk off to. I don't know. That if you showed me that they're very serious about their training, I could believe that. But honestly, that was just a little too much. But
I think it's more so that there's just no one there to teach them. It's like, okay, this is what intercourse is like. It's that they might not have somebody to bother, and it's like they might be reading magazines. But those magazines aren't going to be like, this is how you make a child, by the way.
I don't know. I mean, if you already established that there's someone jerking off, I think you have to at least like acknowledge that people at least understand how a boner works. But not enough about boners.
It's like a pimple.
God damn it. I think the only real issue that I have with like Lucy as like a character, I think it's not really even her character, because I think her like character growth goes really well. And like, I mean, one thing that you can't say she's a Mary Sue, because she gets her ass kicked in the Wasteland. Like, she is, I really like how they show that she is way out of her depth, and it hits her really hard, and seeing her like change from that is really invigorating. The one thing that I wish they changed, I kind of wish they had her have more of like a wardrobe change. Like when she comes out, of like the organ place with like all the robots.
The
and,
organ
like,
harvester,
like,
yeah.
when she comes out of that place and she's like in her tank top and she has like the leather armor on and like she has more like better pistols and holsters. Like I'm like
The armored vault suit or whatever it's called.
and that looks so cool. I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe she's actually gonna like salvage a lot more, salvage a lot more, and like get more equipment, and she's actually gonna be like a lot more armored up. I think that'd be like a cool way to show the game too, with how you are constantly getting new armor sets. And then they go into Vault 4, and she just goes back to her normal vault suit, and like, oh, well, that kind of sucks.
Well, the thing is, she goes back to wearing the full vault suit after she meets up with Maximus, which I felt was like a fault in the visual storytelling, because the visual storytelling there was she comes out of the Super Duper Mart after, she goes in there and she's not cussing, she just says, "Oh, fudge," and so like that. She's still innocent child of the vault, and it isn't until she's forced to shoot a feral ghoul in the fucking face that afterwards she comes out wearing the armor, strips down vault suit, and she kneels down to the ghoul, pointing a gun in his face, and says, "So if you don't take these, you turn in one of those fucking things?" And she starts cussing and things like that, and it's a good visual way and auditory way, I suppose, of conveying to the audience that she is no longer going to be as naive as she used to be. This is her big moment. She is going to be going forward from here. I absolutely loved that. And then she meets Maximus, and I loved that the first thing she does is stomp some rad roaches like a pro, and then nails one right off his armor. And then she goes back to wearing the vault suit with the armor on, but it still felt like a regression of the character from what we had just seen. And then we get to Vault 4, and she stops wearing the armor, she loses her pistol, and then even further, after she leaves Vault 4, she doesn't have any of that stuff. And it felt like her character's back at square one, when they could have easily had it be that, yeah, she's in a vault, so like she's back in her safe space, I had to use that term, of like, so she no longer feels the need to. Yeah, we just lost our friend there.
I'm sure it'll come
back.
back.
An internet connection issue. Yeah, but lost my train of thought. That could be a way of visually conveying the fact that because she feels like she needs a safe space, that she starts to regress in her character, which I do think is what they're trying to convey. But the fact that after she leaves the vault, or even after she decides to go see what's going on in the vault, she doesn't put back on her things, means that they lose that visual storytelling that they were probably trying to convey by just having her go back to the regular vault suit as she was.
And the going, you mentioned the Vault 4, which overall I kind of wish it had a little bit more to it, because it kind of felt like filler. It was very much a side quest, which, I mean, listen, Fall is full of side quests, it makes sense, but I kind of was expecting a little bit more, because they show, what was the name of the main lady, like the main lady that takes her dad?
Moldivar.
Moldivar, yeah. And like, because they showed like them worshiping this whole thing. They're like refugees from Shady Sands, and that whole plot point is actually kind of cool. How like the residents of Shady Sands, they kind of like go in different directions, and then it's like, oh, we're just gonna let you go. And then I'm like, okay. And then I see Maximus with the armor. I'm like, oh, he's totally gonna fuck this up, and they're gonna have to fight out of here, right? And then he does it, and then they just let him out anyway. And it's like, really? And then Lucy kind of goes back to being like, no, you need to give him back the fucking fusion core. And it's like, do you really have to give them back the fusion core? Because that armor would be really, really nice. I don't know. It was like, it's one episode, but it just kind of feels like it goes back on her character, like you said. It's like, I don't know.
To be fair, so I do have multiple problems with the Vault 4 thing. Like, I didn't like the cult thing. Oh, you're back.
Yeah, you're back.
I didn't like the cult thing, because I get what they were going for. It's like, oh, these people are fucking weirdos. But the problem, it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So it's like, why do they worship Moldaver? It's like, okay, maybe we're going to find out in Season 2, but it's like, should I mention just spoiler alert for anybody who's not gotten further than, I mean, we're already talking episode, what?
I'll put it in the beginning of the video, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, she dies at the end of the season. We're probably not gonna find out much more about her except in a couple of flashbacks with Cooper Howard. I don't see the character being like taken further on the end of like what she did for the NCR, at least not very far to the point where that whole plot point of the cult thing feels warranted, because it just doesn't. Like, what do they call her? The Flame Warden, wasn't it?
I think so.
Or
I think
something?
it was something along those lines.
I think they should have dropped the Flame Warden thing and just say, hey, we worship Moldava or something. Maybe a Flame Mother, I think is what they called her. And had it be the reveal, maybe that she was the last NCR president or something would have been better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree with that. And but I mean, like, other than that, like, that's kind of the only real struggle that I think was with Lucy's writing, because after that she kind of goes back, because like the whole revelation that she has at the end with her dad, and like finding out that her dad was responsible, that he's actually from the like way before. I think that was actually like a great character moment where she's like, it kind of reminded me a lot of the end of Fallout 1, because it's like, these worlds have already shaped me way more than the Vault ever did. I have to go my own way. And that's kind of, I like how they kind of she reconciles with Cooper as well, despite all the torture that he was putting her through. But I think in the end, honestly, like, Lucy's character, it has so much potential for season 2, and I'm really excited to see that. But yeah, what'd you guys think about Lucy this season?
I will say, in quick defense of Cooper Howard, he didn't torture her. He was just using her for bait.
Using her for bait. Which was
I'll let you go first.
Oh, I'm good. I missed the beginning half of that because of the power outage.
What? Oh, it was a power outage. Ooh.
Yeah, no. We were having a rolling blackout, literally one after another. So it was like, yeah,
oh, damn.
fuck.
Yeah,
okay, so you really live in the Fallout world.
Yeah. We were mainly just talking about, like, Lucy. We're going down the characters right now, so just overall, like, the only real hurdle that I think was with Lucy's writing was the Vault 4 thing.
The cult.
Yeah, and the fact that, like, it kind of, like, not only like writing wise, but also like visually wise, like, she kind of loses her armor, which I think just kind of, it's just kind of like reverted back a little bit for me. But I don't know. I think overall, I think her character was great. But if you guys are ready, let's talk about Maximus. So,
sure.
I'll be honest. Out of the 3 main characters, Maximus is my least favorite, because his writing feels all fucking over the place. I don't understand, like, what his motivations are. It's like, okay, what do you want, dude? Like, do you want so first it's like, you want to do right by the Brotherhood, and it's like, okay, I want to be a knight. Okay, I get that. Titus was a piece of shit. We can all agree on that. Titus was a fucking pussy. Paladin Dance would have wrecked that fucking Yao Guai, okay? Titus is a disappointment to the Brotherhood. But, and then, like, I can understand, it's like, okay, Titus was a piece of shit, and he wants to prove himself. He's gonna take the armor, he's gonna take the head, and then prove himself that he's worthy of being a knight. And then all of a sudden, a fucking cute Vault girl shows up, and now you want to leave with her? Like, but then also not? Like, because then the other scribe guy comes in, who was great, by the way. I thought, like, when Maximus paired up with, like, the other scribe guy, when he didn't know that was Maximus, their chemistry was really good. I honestly really liked when it was just the two of them, just kind of hanging out.
Thaddeus,
yeah. I thought they were great together. They were, like, really entertaining, and it was really kind of, because, like, it's kind of fun seeing him be a dick to him, because he was always a dick to him, and then he kind of realizes, like, oh, he was kind of, like, just trying to help me, or, like, he wants to be friends with him again, right?
Well, the whole thing is with Thaddeus it's the idea of hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
Where Thaddeus got the treatment Maximus always got until Maximus showed, or maybe not showed up, but at least when he realized that he could poke at Maximus instead. So, like, Thaddeus is not a bad dude, but he was in the case of he's getting the shit beaten out of every day, and he sees only one out, and that's to point the finger at someone else who he can do it to instead.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not being beaten, you're part of the beating, sort of idea.
Yeah, it's always like, stand up for yourself. It's kind of like there's two people in this world. There's bullies and there's victims, that type of thing.
And I will say I absolutely loved Thaddeus's character, except for one point, which I'll get to a little later, maybe. But I will say, I don't hate any of the characters in this show. I have to agree, Maximus is my least favorite of the main three, simply because story-wise, he has less going on than everyone else, or at least backstory-wise. Like, we learn very little about him other than he was the last survivor of Shady Sands, quote-unquote. Quote-unquote. And that he's an idiot.
And that much is certain, for sure.
Yeah. But I like that. Initially, I thought he was gonna be another wide-eyed, innocent to this world sort of dude. That even though he's gonna guide Lucy through the wasteland, he doesn't really know what he's doing either, and he doesn't know who he is. It's like, nah, he's a fucking awful person.
And
he is terrible.
And that's the thing.
And I feel like it.
I feel like they don't commit enough to it, because I feel like they kind of want you to feel bad in a way for him, and to the point. Shit, what is his name? The scribe guy that follows him?
Thaddeus.
Honestly, I wish Thaddeus was madder at him when like he finds out that he's a ghoul, because that's technically fucking Maximus's fault. You know, like, he was the one that stepped on his foot, and that like caused a chain reaction to him to go to that weird guy that fucks chickens, which is another dumb joke, but like that caused like a chain reaction to take that medicine, turn into a ghoul, and now he can't go back to the Brotherhood. I'm kind of upset that he was like, oh, you do that for me? Oh, thanks, Maximus. No, I would be fucking pissed, dude. I would be like, take your fucking head, fuck you, douchebag, and like leave. Like, I'm a little upset that he was like accepting of that.
Yeah, and I will say one of the problems I have with Thaddeus is there was one of two routes that scene should have gone. Thaddeus dies, Thaddeus transforms into something, or at least we see later like a end credit scene where I thought for sure it was going to be like, because everybody just assumes, oh, I think that means you're a ghoul. And we know that the snake oil salesman, that's how he's credited, says that, oh, radiation's not going to be a problem for you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And the liquid was kind of a yellowish, greenish. I thought for sure it wasn't going to be that whatever that medicine is that the ghouls take, which is not doesn't have to be a retcon. We can get to that later.
Is that? Did you think it was going to be like the FEV?
I thought it was going to be FEV, and I thought the surprise was going to be that by the time Maximus and Lucy catch up to him, he is turning into a super mutant.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing with the FEV, especially when it comes to super mutants, is if you remember from Fallout 3, it's high extreme levels of radiation that force the change. He hasn't been exposed that much to extreme radiation.
Extreme radiation is not part of it as per Fallout 1, 2, and New Vegas, just FEV by itself.
Okay.
How, like, what way you transform it might be in 3. I only played through 3 once, and I hated every minute of it.
In 3, when they're in the thing, it's revealed that Fox was also an experiment within that vault. That they were injecting people with the FEV virus, then bombarding them with radiation to go ahead and force the change.
And that,
at least that's what I saw.
That's also like the differences between West Coast FEV and East Coast, because I know they have two different things when it comes to super mutants.
Plus, it would make sense too, because if it started on the West Coast and then eventually made its way over to the East Coast via like the Master and his followers, I mean, there's bound to be changes in the recipe, right?
In this case, it was 2 different strains of FEV. One developed at, 3, I guess. One developed at Mariposa. One developed at West-Tec, near Huntersville in West Virginia, as per 76. And then the one in Vault 87 was given to Vault-Tec to work on their own.
Okay.
But so in all the other games, the big deal is radiation is the exact opposite of what you want when it comes to FEV, because it actually interferes with FEV. In 1, 2, and New Vegas, it's made very clear that the reason why the Master needs prime normals from the vaults is because any high exposure to radiation will cause the person, once they become a super mutant, to become a dumb super mutant, as some of the super mutants call them, dumb-dumbs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Okay.
Well, if that was made today, we'd have one of them saying, "Give me gum gum."
Yeah.
But
Or it's and then there's like the variety. There's like the other super mutants like Marcus who actually are intelligent.
yeah, because he was made from a prime normal, as was the lieutenant, and I guess Ron, not Rhonda, Tabitha.
Tabitha.
Tabitha's decent, but you know. Anyways, also Lily in Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah,
she was from a
technically
vault.
one. Well, a lot of the Nightkin were, but anyway, that's Fallout New Vegas. But
Yeah.
like ending off with Maximus, and then like his relationship with Lucy. I don't want to say forced, but it just kind of felt like, hey, we have these characters, we might as well have them get together, which I don't think it's inherently like a bad choice. But I do think I wish there was a little bit more to it because, and because like now where Maximus ends up, he kind of ends up getting exactly what he wanted at the beginning, which is to be a knight. So but now he kind of has like the guilt of like what it's caused him, like everything that happened, and now him being at a higher stature in the Brotherhood, that's definitely gonna be an interesting place to take him. I hope with season 2 they definitely commit to more of a path with him, because they definitely kind of struggled with how they wanted him to be portrayed. But overall, like, he's kind of a shitty guy, and I just wish that they kind of showcased him as more of like this like cowardly like scoundrel in a way. Because I feel like that would have been a lot more in line with the character. And I think it would have made people like him a lot more if you just, like, committed to him being more unlikable rather than trying to make him kind of sympathize with him in a sense.
He acts a lot on emotion, I noticed.
He
like,
does.
his character tends to, like, see an opportunity and take it. Like you said, more of a rat character would have made sense for him. But at the same time, having been indoctrinated for most of his life by the Brotherhood, I mean, like you were saying earlier, if it was more of a structured system, I'm sorry, I'm trying to collect my thoughts and get this down.
Yeah, no,
he wants to do right by the people that saved him, yet at the same time, like, sees how fucking crazy they are, kind of how fanatic they are.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what I got from him. Like he's. You go ahead.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of Finn from the Star Wars sequels, and not just because he's black. But like he has.
Nobody was accusing you of that.
Yeah. But like he kind of I kind of got that feeling. It's like, okay, he's like part of this group, and he's not really sure if he wants to be. But like where at least I could say that Finn wanted to get out. I can't tell if he wants to get out or if he wants to stay in. He like wants to do both. And I think that can be an interesting struggle to see, but I don't think we really see that much of it with him.
I think the whole point.
Sorry, I was just going to say the scene with him and the.
Sorry.
No, you continue. You continue, dude.
I think the whole point of him is that he doesn't know what he wants, and the whole thing is at the end he gets what he wanted, but it's the classic.
But the memes are
of,
weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's like it's the case of you got what you wanted, but by the time you do, you don't want it anymore, and you realize what it took for you to get here. He's had to murder or lie and cheat his way through, and he's had people pointing guns at his head, saying, "And you betrayed us. We're gonna kill you for this."
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, they decide because he killed someone who apparently just wanted to help the wasteland and lit up the entire city in the distance. Apparently, killing her, which he didn't do, which he tries to admit to, is seen as a good thing, and he has this moment of realization of like, oh, are we the baddies?
Also, the guy who actually shot her is gonna be fucking pissed, dude.
Yeah. Which fog of war.
Mm-hmm. War never changes.
War never changes. Sorry, you were gonna say before. Didn't mean to cut you off there.
Oh, that you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly where I was going for.
But I think after that we can go to Cooper, who is by far, I think, everyone's favorite character in the show. I think he's the coolest. He definitely has the most depth with his character, and his story, like, other than like the Vault 30, 31, 32, and 33 thing, was honestly the most interesting to me, because like, because I think he was actually a really cool way. He's honestly like a better version of the Soul Survivor, in my opinion. That's what I would say, because like that idea for a ghoul just kind of works out really well, in my opinion. I think going back and forth between like his backstory and like seeing his family and seeing the like his wife working with Vault-Tec, that the first scene with him and his daughter and like seeing the nuke from the outside while you see all the kids watching the TV was really cool. And I think that was by far like it's one of the shots that made the show for me.
Yeah, that was a really good introduction to his character and all that. He is such a great character. I think it's interesting that he does have ties to Vault-Tec directly
and the military.
Yeah. I will say he's not my personal favorite character. Believe it or not, that is Lucy. Okay. I think she is, and she's played really well and all that. And it helps that you get to see this character evolve so much more quickly. Whereas Cooper Howard is probably going to be more interesting going forward because we see him regain his humanity, which kind of hints of it. But we only really get that touched upon the idea of him regaining his humanity, versus Lucy is much more straightforward on where her progression is. I could totally see people like watching this show and being like, what do you mean he's regaining his humanity? He hasn't changed at all. And it's like, no, he's changed a great deal. It's just not conveyed as directly. Like I liked the implication that, again, it's implied that when he's in the Super Duper Mart, he doesn't really remember who he was that well. So he's sitting there watching himself on TV, and he mimes himself doing the gun, and he doesn't have this look in his face like, yeah, I remember the good old days. It's like,
he was high of his mind.
Yeah.
Like, to be fair, they just like hoofed down like handfuls of pharmaceuticals.
To be fair, they haven't stated that medicine has any kind of psychedelic or hallucinogenic or even mind-altering effect beyond obviously
pills
halting.
He was eating in that scene. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, was he? Okay, fair enough. He probably was.
In the next episode, he is passed out on the ground, so he either fell asleep or he took something that was
drinking the gin too. Sure. Aviator Gin made an appearance there too.
I did see that.
I didn't catch that. But I thought that the visual storytelling, to bring back what I was talking about earlier, is that he clearly has trouble remembering who he was, to the point where by the end he's very clearly remembers who he was, and to the point where initially he just says to himself, McClane, that's interesting, versus when he confronts Hank. Her dad's name is Hank, isn't it?
Yeah, Hank McClane.
Yeah, Hank McClane. When he talks to Hank McClane, he doesn't say, "Oh, that name seems familiar." It's like, "No, you used to pick up my dry cleaning, you little shit."
Yeah.
But anyway, so Cooper Howard, I think, is a really interesting character in that we do see him regaining his humanity, and he does take kind of the lead from Lucy, where she commits an act of kindness as her golden rule is, be kind to others and then we'll pay it back to you. And he decides, maybe I should go along with this kid, maybe we should go after the bad guys together. Like, let's stick it out by the end.
Yeah, and that's something that he would not have done from before. So there is growth for him, especially for someone who he's like almost 300 years old now. So
yeah, and
kind of reminds me a little bit of. I was just going to say, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Jericho from Fallout 3 in his progression. Mm-hmm. Just a little bit.
Which, speaking of like funny tie-ins to the games, I do kind of like how this is just something I know is I like how the scribes that the Brotherhood have, they're kind of like companions where you give them all your shit and they're just hogging like a heavy bag of shit with you. It's like, hey Boone, go carry my shit, and he's like, my wife died. I'm like, yeah, I know. Can you hold this? Also,
they are over encumbered and cannot run.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was funny. Yeah. But in terms of the main characters, like, other than the annoyances I have with Maximus, I think they're fine. I think they kind of, like, they worked out pretty well. Like, I like the first episode where they show all three of them in, like, different perspectives, you know. You got Lucy in the vault, you got Maximus in, like, the Brotherhood camp, and then we get introduced to Cooper, who's referred to as the Ghoul, rising from a grave, which is pretty funny. And I guess we can also talk about, like, the more of the side plot stuff. I think the stuff with what's her brother's name? Lucy's brother's name?
Norm.
Norm honestly grew on me a lot more as a character as the show went on.
I like Norm.
I really like Norm as well.
I like Norm.
Yeah, and
he's not malicious, but he's still like a truth seeker in there. Like, he doesn't have any plans of ambition towards being like overseer or anything like that. He's genuinely just curious about what the fuck is happening in the vault.
Yeah, he just wants people to tell the truth to him, which they're clearly not. And it's really interesting kind of seeing him like, hey, no one's being straight with me, so I'm just gonna like find out the answers myself. And I do like how they keep it ambiguous at the end, where it's like, did he go into the like the cryostasis chamber, and like that whole part. I do think it was kind of cool how they combined like a lot of different game plot points, because that does make sense to me. Like Vault-Tec wanting to basically having this whole idea of like, oh, we let the factions die out and then we can come and take over. That in a sense does make sense to me, because Vault-Tec's not a great fucking corporation. They've made that very clear ever since the first Fallout game. So, in a sense, I do understand like where they're going with the whole Vault-Tec, like evil corporation thing. So, and also another line that I actually really like is when Norm's talking to the other guy. I can't remember anyone's names. Who's like the guy who hooks up with the pregnant lady.
Yeah, let me look at his name real quick. Well, her name... Oh, I can't remember her name, actually. I just remember
Mike Spencer or something like that.
Yeah, I think his name was Mike. Again, let me pull
up. I'm on the IMDb right now.
Because I like the line where it's like, you're a coward, and he's like, we all are...
It's Chet.
Chet?
Chet.
Yeah.
And her name is Stephanie Harper.
Okay.
They've registered, yeah, Chet.
Because I like how it's like, you're a coward, and he's like, we all are, Norm. That's why we live in a vault. And I kind of like that whole. It's like it's a good representation of just acceptance of the vault life, where it's just like, that shit's scary up there, and we only saw a little bit of it when the raiders attacked. So I don't want to deal with that, which I can't. That's the thing, is that it's fucked up in the surface, and I think the show overall does a good job with showing how fucked up the surface is.
I do have to ask, do you guys think the mashed potatoes are better in Vault 31?
I can't say. I haven't had them.
Bro, they're probably better because they're laced with something.
People keep saying that the potatoes are better in Vault 31, and so it must be true, right?
There was a scene in the first, I think it was either first or second episode, when they're getting rid of the bodies about the compost. Like, they're recycling bodies as compost, right?
Yeah, just straight out of...
Oh, you were saying?
Straight out of Waterworld.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like, yeah, maybe they were better because they're just recycling bodies instead of shit.
The potatoes are better in Vault 31 because the last potatoes they ate were before the war.
Literally eating corpse starch.
Yeah. I will say there is a major problem I have with how they handle Vault-Tec in this show.
Okay.
And that's specifically revealing the fact that they're the ones who dropped the bomb. Okay. When everything in the story everything in the Fallout universe pointed to the simple fact that it was in fact China. Because the whole point is that the war was not going in their favor. Mm-hmm. They had almost no oil. They had no access to more oil. They did not have microfusion like the United States did. They had lost Anchorage. They had lost Alaska. And now the United States was about to march on Beijing. It is supposed to be that the war was about to end.
Mm-hmm.
But also, there's the simple fact of we were never supposed to get the answer because the answer does not matter anymore.
Yeah,
Everyone died.
That's like the whole thing is that like Fallout, it was never about what happened before. What matters is that this is where we are at now, and it's like all we would need to know is that the war ravaged the fucking planet. So
was that terminal in Slocum Joe's in Fallout 4, the one with the AI simulation of the end of the war, was that connected to the nukes, or no? That was just a simulation, like an independent simulation, right?
I think it was.
That was
which
another user. I'd love to call.
But going back to what you're saying, like the whole Vault-Tec kind of nuking everything. I hope they revealed that they weren't the only ones. At least because I can definitely buy it that they dropped like some of them to kind of like complete the whole thing, but I do think that China being the ones that drop it, that's kind of the whole point. The whole point is that war never changes. So
one of the problems I have with Vault-Tec being the one to drop the bombs is because when it comes to the idea that war never changes, people don't change and all that message always shoots itself in the foot when you reveal that no, it was a third party no one expected.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like technically, like Napoleonic Wars, that was mostly controlled by third parties. A lot of the wars in Europe, when you look up that kind of history, it's usually a third party that ends up profiting immense. Like the Crusades, it wasn't the actual Crusaders that profited. It wasn't the peasants. It weren't it wasn't the Muslims. It was the church itself, the third party that sent them to war.
But at the same time, it's usually a case of like, okay, like wars are not usually started by the businesses or the banks. They're profited by, and they'll often push it to go further. But the big difference is that it's like, okay, Napoleonic Wars, like, yeah, like the churches and the banks, stuff like that, they're the ones who profited. At the end of the day, the person who still started the war in the first place was Napoleon. And usually, you always that's the point I'm trying to make. It's like Vault-Tec trying to profit off of the war. Yeah, that's their MO. Oh, the idea that they're the ones who started the war in the first place and destroyed everything for their own personal gain. To make money when you are never going to make money off of the end of the world like that, because you need people to, pay for vault spaces.
Mm-hmm.
I guess why they kind of maybe they kind of imply they want a eugenics thing, but
the end goal of any of it is ultimate control over the populace at that point, to have your idea become the main idea in the wasteland. That was their ultimate goal, right? So I mean if you kind of control a populace, then you can control the narrative within that space. So
sorry,
anyway, continue what you were saying. I'm sorry.
I will say there is one slight addendum I will make. Addendum? Yeah, whatever.
Addendum.
To what I was saying, though, real quick, before we go any further on this point, this could easily be changed in Season 2 for one reason and one reason alone. Yes, it is Cooper Howard's wife saying this as an executive of Vault-Tec, but before she goes on her whole spiel about destroying the world, she looks up in the rafters above the room, and she looks at somebody. We don't see who it is. And I think the implication is that this isn't actually Vault-Tec saying this. It's the Enclave saying this. They're telling her what to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which might be the route they're going to go, but I'm just going with as the information is presented at the moment. They're saying it's Vault-Tec.
Which you mentioned the Enclave, and that just reminded me. I'm kind of surprised that Bethesda refuses to let the Enclave die, even more so than the fans, because the fans honestly, I'm of the opinion that I think the Enclave, while I think they look cool, they should have stayed dead in Fallout fucking 2, honestly.
I'm honestly fine with how they're presented in the show, because we don't see them in this big bustling like bunker complex or things like that, flying around in vertibirds with power armor. No, we see them in a couple of shitty-looking apartment buildings, basically, or where this place is half falling apart. Their guys are all wearing pretty basic bitch armor, and yeah, they have laser rifles. The only appearance of anybody actually holding a laser rifle or a laser weapon at all in the show, which is really odd.
Moldiver had a laser
pistol. Oh, that's right. but we don't even see her use it.
Well, yeah, because I mean, listen,
Weird.
we had to put the effects on the stupid fucking Iron Man gauntlets for some reason. The fucking okay, real quick, short fucking tangent, real quick. Why?
That shit was
okay,
funny.
this is like my personal issue. I'm gonna go through the nitpicks real quick. Why the fuck does power armor have the stupid fucking gauntlets, dude? Like that looks.
To do the brands.
It looks so dumb. Like, you want them to fly, just use the jetpack they had from fucking Fallout 4. You had a whole excuse to use it, and you didn't use it. I don't understand. Oh, God. Anyway.
More money for props, though.
I guess so. I don't know. That was something that I thought was really dumb, is that, like, you literally have something that they fly now. Do you have something that, like, is where they already are able to fly, but, like, why do they even need to fly? Like, why? Ugh.
I think that the jetpacks in this show are probably meant to be used as more what's called a jump pack, which is the idea of it not being for flight, but rather assistance to traverse terrain. There's also the idea that having it on the hands allows for more control. I will say, I got into an argument with somebody about this not that long ago about, like, because there were people arguing about with the show, because we saw the pre-release footage where we saw him using the gauntlet rockets, that, like, well, real jetpacks use hand rockets, not a back-mounted one, to which I pointed out the ones in the 1960s were mounted to your back, and those work just fine. It's just they're not very profitable or very useful in combat. That's why they only made 2 of them. If you want to see what that one looks like, go watch the movie Thunderball. That is an actual jetpack.
But
there's
also,
no crane or anything.
But also, back jetpacks just look cooler.
Yeah. But I think what like the whole point of how Maximus uses it is he is supposed to look janky, because it's supposed to be very clear to us in that scene. This is Maximus. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Lucy looks at him and says, "Oh my god, that's so cool! Look, he's wearing T60. Is that a knight? Oh my god!" Well, the rest of us are supposed to be laughing like, yeah, this is fucking Maximus. He's gonna fuck this up.
I know, but I feel like you could have done that with him just walking in. I don't know. I feel like you didn't have to have him fly around. I feel like that's just... I feel like you could have just done something better with that. I don't know. But also, I don't... This is, once again, another nitpick. I don't like how the power armor has a voice changer. I like how it's just like an amplifier in Fallout 3 and 4. It's just an amplifier. You can still hear their regular voice. It just, amplifies it a little bit. I hate how it has like a stupid, clean that up. Shut up. Like, it reminds me too much of Zack Snyder's Batman, or fucking Ben Affleck's Batman, where he has a stupid voice changer. It just doesn't sound good.
Do you bleed?
Yeah.
You will. I will say, I would absolutely love it, since we never hear anyone else talking while in power armor. If it turns out that all the power armor doesn't have that, Titus just did it.
Titus.
He didn't like
Titus is a prick.
They need to do that in season 2, because that'd be so funny. It's like, hey, why does my voice sound the same? It's like, well, Titus just had his voice was cracking still when he got his power armor. It was really embarrassing. No one could take him seriously, so he just modified his armor.
Okay, honestly,
if
they do that, I'll forgive it. Honestly.
Yeah. And obviously the reason why for the voice changer was quite simply so that Thaddeus wouldn't recognize Maximus.
Yeah, and I get it. I understand that's like the reason for it, but
yeah, I'll give him credit. Most shows and movies don't put that kind of thought into that sort of thing, because I can think of a lot of movies and TV shows where they do the whole thing of, well, he's wearing a mask. How can he tell it's not the same person?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, he sounds the same. It's like, oh, he's wearing a mask. It's like, you should be able to know, because he also is like 3 feet shorter. Like the power armor simplifies that, along with the voice changer simplifies that. I will give him credit for that, but I would love it if they made a joke out of it where it's like, nah, Titus is just a fucking asshole.
Oh, I would honestly, I'm all for just shitting on Titus even more. You dude was a prick. But we're reaching the 10-minute or the 50-minute mark, so why don't we go ahead and talk about the quote-unquote retcon that people have been talking quite a bit about. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about, so...
I was the first one to get to that point on the Discord, I think.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and so the retcon at the end of the show, they show Vegas. They show New Vegas. But also a big part of the show is that Shady Sands got nuked, which was like the main base for where the NCR started, that whole type of thing. And they even have like a whiteboard where it says like the fall of Shady Sands, and then there's just a big explosion. Now, my interpretation of that, it's like, okay, something happened with Shady Sands. Like, the fall of Shady Sands wasn't meant to be like the destruction of it. It's just meant to show that like something happened where everything was falling apart. And then years after that, that's when the nuke happened, and that's when they destroyed it. The inclusion of Vegas at the end leaves with a lot of questions. Originally, I was like, because like I remember because I was like on episode 2, and I saw that clip, and I'm like, oh, that they've already been doing like the end scenes. Surely that's just an Easter egg, right? But no, you actually see fucking Lucy's dad like at Vegas, and that leaves me with a lot of questions, because the thing about these games is that they're RPGs, and your actions affect the world in different ways. So you're gonna upset some people when you don't acknowledge their choices. So
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think it's a retcon like people are saying. New Vegas still happened. It clearly did. Just
Didn't the guys say on Twitter too that they didn't, because the show technically isn't canon, they're not retconning
no,
anything?
it's canon. The show is canon.
Oh, it is canon.
It is
Okay,
canon.
okay.
Yeah, very, very canon. They said New Vegas was canon as well. It's not. No, we have not decanonized anything. But the problem is that date. It says the fall of Shady Sands.
Ends at 2277.
Which is the year of the first battle for Hoover Dam. I made the point to people that normally when you have that kind of date, it means one of two things. This is the day that everything went down, or it's going to be a range. The problem is the way, like, where it'll be like 2277 to 2281 sort of thing. You'll treat it as a range of, like, when you look up a history book, you're not going to usually see the fall. If you see the fall of Rome, it won't just be the sack of Rome. It lists it'll list two different time periods. The time period leading up to the sack of Rome, which covers the period of like 300 years. It gives a range of 2 dates. I can't remember the dates are, so I'm just throwing out 235 to 535. Yeah, and then it'll list specifically the sack of Rome, which is a very specific date. The show has the one date, which usually points to a singular event when you do it that way. And I know there's some people who say, but it's a timeline anyway. It's like, again, usually the way you present that is a range, and there is no range shown. And the fact that the bomb does not show its own individual date point towards the idea that it did not happen that long afterwards. I think if they were smart, they would have had it written that it says 22 and then have like a smudge where it shows the actual date. If they were smart, they would have done that.
Yeah, just kind of
make it very clear this happened later.
Make it ambiguous, yeah.
Yeah, like I guess it's supposed to be ambiguous, but the problem is the whiteboard does not visually convey that. I think this might have been a prop issue, but the fact that it's the fall of Shady Sands happens 4 years before Fallout New Vegas happens. Ironically, the date they give is the height of the NCR's power. The height of their power is the lead up to the first battle for Hoover Dam. They don't start their decline until at least a year or two into the campaign in the Mojave, because they've stretched themselves too thin. That would be like saying the fall of Rome during the time of, I'm trying to think what emperor, during the time of Augustus, let's say. It's like, well, this is the fall of Rome. Everything started going downhill from here. It's like, hey, no, that took a while for everything to start going downhill. Actually, they had a great deal amount of expansion still happening, to the point where just prior to New Vegas, there was a campaign happening down in Baja, California, where half of the Ranger forces were deployed in because they were expanding further south. So, what way is this the fall of Shady Sands? Now it's your turn. Sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. I just went onto the subreddit for their ages, for Maximus and Lucy's ages.
Oh no.
If Maximus was in between the ages of 6 and 10, it theoretically could have happened. The whole New Vegas timeline, right? because it's 70. It's not 70. It's 80
It's 81.
something, right?
2281 is when New Vegas takes place.
So, like, just looking here, this guy goes, my current head canon is Sadie Shands was nuked shortly after or within a few years after the events of Fallout New Vegas, which occurred 2281 to 2284. At that time, the hub most likely served as the capital of the NCR, while President Kimball, having been elected in 2278, a year after supposed fall of Shady Sands. This is what this guy says.
It's just like speculation.
More food. Yeah.
No. Well, actually, we failed to talk about the actual retcon, though. It is confirmed, or at the very least.
But
That's not Shady Sands. That should be LA Boneyard. Actual Shady Sands is about 300 miles north of downtown LA.
mhm.
You cannot see it from Griffith Observatory. It is in Bishop. It is well out of the range of Los Angeles. To put it in perspective, Vault 13 is supposed to be in Mount Whitney.
Yeah, so that's still far away. It's like it seems less like it seems less like it more of like a geometry issue, right? Like it's more of just the fact that geography. I got the G's right.
I'm linguistics.
Yeah, like it feels more like a geography mistake more than anything else because they just kind of misunderstood where these locations were. And I remember talking before the show came out, okay, California's a big place, they're probably not going to go down this route. And then they did. I don't think it was inherently bad, like a lot of people have been saying. Because overall, I think the show is very enjoyable. But it leaves a lot of questions. And then we see Vegas. And they're touching a lot of people. A lot of people are autistic about this fucking game, ourselves included, because we go to a fucking
I was just thinking that
we go to a fucking event in Nevada where we wear a bunch of outfits and get so sweaty hot, and we love it. But
and get fucking drunk. That's
climb a fucking
exactly.
mountain,
We
high
climb
as
a
hell
mountain.
or drunk as hell.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you gotta be careful when you're doing shit like this. That's why every Fallout game has, except for 1 and 2, have always take place in different places, because that way you don't have to worry about any shit like that. But that being said, I do think like the story going forward, it has potential. And like I said before, if you don't like the show, just fucking ignore it and go play the games. Because the best thing that because you know what what this show did? It got people to play the games again. The player count has been rising for Fallout 4, Fallout 76, and Fallout New Vegas. And
it's even on the rise for Fallout 1 and 2.
Exactly. Yep. There's 4 more people playing
I bought both the other week.
Yeah. So there you go. Because the best thing that an adaptation, in my opinion, can do is that it can bring more to the game that it's based on. Because I might not have liked the Last of Us adaptation, but more people played the fucking game. Same thing with Edge Runners, same thing with Arcane. The only true failed adaptation, in my opinion, was the Dragon Age show.
Halo.
What Halo? There is no Halo adaptation. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Are you talking about 4?
You mean from like 2006?
Yeah, like, are you talking about Halo Legends? Yeah, Halo Legends was pretty cool.
Forward unto Dawn. No, Red versus Blue.
Red versus Blue. They kind of went downhill after season 13. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Say what season?
I will say I'm glad to hear you mention Arcane just as a side bit because I think it does need to be addressed. Ella Purnell is the lead in both Fallout and Arcane.
Yeah.
She plays Jinx.
She does play Jinx.
Yeah, which I couldn't help but laugh a little bit when I started watching the show because I was like, oh, there's her Jinx voice.
Yep. You can like I can tell with her Jinx in there too, so
she lacks the crazy, which this Lucy Purnell, I don't see Ella Purnell has some range. For one thing, she is not American. She is actually English.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that's her doing her American accent. I would be hard-pressed in either one of those shows to find a scene where it'd be like, oh, that's not an American accent. That is an English accent. Which, to be fair, in an animated show, God knows how many takes she did.
Yeah, exactly.
But, at no point am I watching Fallout and think to myself, she's sounding just like Jinx, except for, her voice, the tone never hits that point.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's important. I never got the feeling of this is crazy Ella Purnell doing this. It's like, no, she's playing Lucy, sweet innocent Lucy, who's had a really tough week.
Mm-hmm.
We need to give her some slack.
She might get the Jinx level in season 2. Who knows? She's gonna be in the
I would
wasteland for a long
love-
time.
Golden rule. If she holds on to the golden rule in the face of everything, not to the point of delusion, but to the point of reason, I think that would be great. If she learns that there's certain points where you just can't friggin' communicate with people properly. Like, I think a couple more scenarios, like the bridge scenario, would be really great to see her in.
Mm-hmm.
I will say what I want to be the final scene of season 2 is she's with Cooper Howard and she says, well, you know, the golden rule of the wasteland, and for him to say, be kind to others and they will be kind unto you, and she says, no, thou shalt be interrupted by random bullshit at every single turn. Showing that they have swapped philosophies.
Yeah, like kind of one.
I think would be the perfect end.
Like one's
Sorry.
regaining their humanity and the other one's losing it in a way. That can be
Yeah,
kind
which-
of a good thing.
I think that would be the
Or
perfect
maybe they
way.
rationalize each other.
They kind of like bounce off each other a little bit more. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'd love to hear what you guys thought of the show in the comments. Feel free to call us all New Vegas shills because we are. And I'm excited for season 2. Hope you guys are too. But anyway, have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one.